Welcome everybody to JP Build Unit 93, Episode 2. This episode we're going to be talking about the things that are going to be done to the Jeep to turn it into the actual Jurassic Park Jeep, or at least as close to it as possible. With doing my research, I've already come across a couple things that I'm going to have trouble with. But let's go and take a look at every angle on how this Jeep is going to change. As I mentioned in the first video, most of this build is going to be done right here in my driveway. Fortunately, I've got this extra space over here that I can store my projects, albeit outside. And right now, I've got some pretty good shadows that's going to help keep me cool. That being said, before I started filming, I actually took off the front bumper like you guys can see because I couldn't stand it. And it was so hot, I actually had to change shirts. So I'm going to be limited in the summer to at least doing stuff either in the morning or in the evening, so that way I don't get heat stroke and die. One of the things I've already encountered that I'm going to have issues with is simply supplies from a 30-year-old Jeep. For example, the wheels that I want to go on here are from the actual 1993 Saharas. The problem I've already found is that the cheapest ones are about $250 off of eBay. That's just for one. So if I were to spend $1,000 on these and powder coat them red, of course, that's going to blow my budget on this thing.
Don't get cheap on me, Dodson.
Fortunately for me, I can have an adapter and use some very similar wheels from later model Jeeps that I'll be painting red. I'll be going to go check some out tomorrow in Slayton for only $100. That's including 4 wheels and 4 tires that look pretty good. And of course, I'll try to match up the tires as much as possible. The actual tires that were used in the movie haven't existed for about 20 years. So I'm going to be using something pretty similar, at least to make it look as close to screen accurate. But I am going to have to make some concessions on that for now. But that being said, I'm committed to this thing, so let's dive in. First things, we're going to make sure, like I said in phase 1, to make sure the internals, the drivetrain, the brakes, the power steering, everything is good to go. So let's start with what's under the hood. Those of you that are familiar with Jeep, if it's not leaking, that means it's empty. So as we can see, there's some oil spots on here, valve cover gasket for sure, and a couple spots that are on the undercarriage, but nothing on the ground. The joke about that is a Jeep doesn't leak. It marks its territory. And in addition, if there's no spots, that means the fluid's empty. I drove this whenever I bought it. Went through all the gears, went through the 4-wheel drive and reverse, everything's good to go. But when I got it home, I did notice that there was no horn. That's also a pretty important thing whenever you have to get a car registered in the state of Texas. So I noticed this was unplugged. And then I also noticed that the horn has been messed with before. These work on a basic fuse function, meaning there's something in the middle of this that will create an electric current once you depress the horn to make it honk. As soon as I connected the horn, it was continuous. That means we have a bad sensor in here. Fortunately, it was already an easy fix and I actually fixed it off camera, which is great, because I got absolutely terrified when that horn honked right in my face. And so that means with everything said, under here is going to get a pass for me from now. And I'm sure most of you guys have already noticed, but our half doors are missing. I have them secured because there's no real way to secure this Jeep without the top. And even with the top, it's like the most unsecured vehicle of all time. So with these things being so high demand, I've taken them off for now. I do have a top ordered, and it'll be in Spice, which is the correct color for the YJ Jurassic Park Jeeps. We're going to keep our half doors, do zips, and in the back we are going to change it a little bit because the back windows, obviously zip outs, were not tinted. But this is West Texas and I'm going to need some tinted windows back there. And of course, beginning with phase 2, we're going to put the correct striping on. What's really cool about these experiences is the massive amount of knowledge that's on the internet. There's a site called Jurassic Park Motor Pool that has the designs and everything that I'm going to need right at my fingertips, down to almost the centimeter of where the stripes are going to be placed. But before we do that, we're going to take our existing pinstripes right here and remove those. We're going to remove the Sahara sticker, unfortunately, because it's in really good shape. And then we're going to have to redo these Jeep letters just because I don't like the way they look. But again, one of the big pluses with this particular Jeep is that this paint is in really good condition once we can get it shined up. One of the things about this particular Jeep is that there's obviously a lift on this with much bigger tires. Neither one of these are going to be screen accurate, and so part of phase 2 is going to be getting these wheels off, new ones on, and taking care of all the tired suspension that's under here. And in the Jeeping world, chrome is a no-no, so this back bumper, although somewhat accurate, is going to have to be changed. More than likely, since this is somewhat of a YJ bumper, I'm going to end up powder coating it back to black. And of course, we'll be trying to get as much as possible to be screen accurate, including the amber fog lights, which did nothing in the movie, but made it look cool and was iconic with this particular Jeep. And with phase 3, we're going to be working on the interior. This is a good interior to work with. It's very minimalistic. I can clean this up pretty well, and we'll be able to bring back the color on every side to make this more screen accurate. Putting the carpet in is going to be a big deal once I can find it. That's going to be one of my biggest tasks, along with finding the correct center console. Chances are I'm probably going to have to end up painting something. And of course, I'm going to have to get a new windshield. But once we do that, we can replace the seals and paint the inside of the frame red to make it screen accurate. As I mentioned in episode 1, I'm not going to have to track down the seats to make this look correct. Now granted, these seats do need a little bit of work done to them, but there's somebody locally that I can lean on, and he's going to make these look really, really good. And the pads for the roll cage are in great shape. They just need a good clean, and then we're going to be good to go. All in all, this project's going to take me at least a year to complete. I'm going to try to use as many screen accurate items and items from 1993 as possible. I'm already encountering a lot of issues with that, as supply, even with COVID, is becoming really, really hard to get. That being said, I'm always up for suggestions, comments from you guys, and if you feel adventurous enough, you can help me wrench on this thing if you want to. So stay tuned, follow me for more, and let's go. In this episode, we're going to take a look on every angle. Stupid bird. 3, 2, 1. And welcome to episode 2, everybody, of JP Build Unit 93. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at what is going on. Ugh.